Welcome to another week of Network Roundtable. No music this week because, well, as many of you know, I have been extremely busy painting this new office in Park City. This is the first time we're broadcasting live from Intel. I know this is not my office. This is what we call our creative zone right here. I'm giving you a second view of it from the back of my head. Hi, guys. Yeah, this is where we create. We don't have a boardroom either. It's a realistic room. That's where we're realistic about the stuff. And then we've got another place where we're critical about the things. We stole that from Walt Disney. But anyway, welcome to this week's Network Roundtable, live from Interline. And I'm excited about this episode. We were talking in the green room about why I'm excited about this episode and the generational gap as a result of it. But Phyllis is a master of organization of time using Google Calendar. And I explained to her that I have been floundering ever since I had to give up my Palm Pilot. That was the most amazing tool, and everything else is too complex, and it just doesn't help me organize time. It just spends and wastes more of my time. So I'm pretty excited about that because, well, basically since 2007, I've been undisciplined, and today's about discipline. So, typical to Network Roundtable, we are now going to move to our superhero, Phyllis, and our sidekick from London, Liz. And we're going to let them tell us why they think each other is amazing. So we're going to let them love all over each other. And we're going to start off with Phyllis because, well, as our superhero, she got to select our sidekick. So, Phyllis, go ahead and tell us, why did you select Liz as your sidekick this week?
Oh, I have to tell you, Liz is the most amazing person, and I'm going to pretend she's not in the room, and I'm just going to say all sorts of wonderful things about her. And I would say these straight to her if I could get there over into the UK and say them to her. You know, I teach a lot of people. And I've taught hundreds of people all over the world how to be social media managers and all sorts of training programs. And every now and again, you get a student who is just this bright, shining star. And that's who Liz is. She took every single thing that we talked about in our training program and took it way further than even I would have done. She's a brilliant designer. If you go to her website, one of my favorite things to do is you just go Google her name and her website will come up at the top. It's called Digital Matchbox. And then just soak in the loveliness that she has in over there on her website because the beautiful design, I think, is visually quite well done. But also, if you go to the blog and you start reading some of those blog posts, these are comprehensive posts. This is not your one paragraph with the visual kinds of posts. They are deep and thorough and well researched, and that's because she is very professional in what she does. She has an incredible history, and I really think you need to go and spend some time reading up all about her because she's got some pretty cool credentials, especially when it comes to social media and the government. And so I think you need to go and check her out that way. But also you just need to understand Liz is, she's nice, she's incredibly polite, and very gifted in design, and is a great journalist. And I just think she's brilliant, and I think she's more than a sidekick. I think she's like we were talking earlier, she's definitely a superhero in my mind.
Wow.
All right, so Liz, after that amazing introduction, what do you have to say about Phyllis, and why do you enjoy being her sidekick today?
Wow. First of all, Phyllis, I'm close to tears, actually.
Oh.
Thank you so much. I mean, to have someone like you say those things about me, I kind of feel like, you know, embarrassed and also kind of proud at the same time. I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, that's one of the cool things about you, Phyllis. Like it's like you're to me like you're my guru, you know, you're my teacher, and you just can lift somebody up, you know, so high up that you give confidence to me to kind of reach higher as well. Sometimes, you know, especially being a very new small business owner, you know, I was a freelancer for a long time, but now I'm finally setting up properly. It takes a lot of, you know, willpower and, you know, a lot of, as everyone might know, it's really hard to get out there. And knowing someone like Phyllis and having her by your side and having her teach you and show you the ropes. I mean, if you guys, you know, haven't checked out Social Media Manager School, it is one of the most amazing, amazing, amazing groups of people. And it's a group of people who are coming together because of Phyllis and Andrea Vall. Just in case you wanted to know, Andrea Vall is the person that set up Social Media Manager School, where I've met Phyllis. And they both just come together so well, and they've created a community of social media managers that, to me, I think, you know, you attract the people that are like you. And I feel that your program does that so well. And it's because of, you know, of the person you are and the qualities that you have and the attributes you have and what you bring to the table. You attract those people to come to you. And just being in your aura and your space, I think, yeah, it just, you know, all the people I've met, you know, I've met some people in person in the group. And when I went to New York, I'm just like kind of really bummed out I haven't met you in person. And those people were so nice that we had such a good time. And I know Phyllis has read this story. I went to New York, met these 2 other members of Social Media Manager School, and we managed to get our pictures up at the Times Square, one of the, you know, most happening places in New York. We got our pictures up on a billboard. And I would say, you know, thanks to Phyllis for putting us, you know, giving fate to us and putting us together so we could have that moment. It was very special. And, you know, Phyllis is, you know, she's the author as well of Facebook Marketing for Dummies and also Social Media Marketing e-learning toolkits. So she brings so much to me. I mean, I didn't know a lot of things about social media until I learned from Phyllis and Andrea Vall in the Social Media Manager School. And also, I have to say, you've added another skill to my, you know, to my kind of toolbox of skills with your Time Bliss Me. Just in case people didn't know, Phyllis has this awesome product called Time Bliss Me. It's a calendar management, how you can manage your time. I mean, this has been lifesaver for me. Thank you again, Phyllis. I don't know how to thank you. I know I'm going on a bit, but I promise this is the last thing. I could go on all day, but if people don't know about this product that Phyllis has, I mean, I know Phyllis worked from the heart, and she created this from her heart, and it's so perfect for small business owners. If you're feeling trapped and you're feeling kind of like you're busy, but you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Like I was, you know, I was like, everyone's like trying to call me to go out, and I'm like, I'm busy. But when you ask me what I'm doing, and kind of like, a lot of things, but I couldn't quite say what I was doing. But until I found Phyllis's Time Bliss Me, I finally got the hang of managing my time. And you know, for all of that, Phyllis, you know, you are my hero. Thank you so much.
Okay, now I got tears going down my eyes. Thank you. Wow. Yeah, you know the time management thing, that's kind of the reason why we're here in terms of discipline. I never looked at time management and discipline in the same bucket, but I can kind of see how people would see it that way. Discipline is such a hard phrase to me. It's almost as if instead of saying discipline, having the willingness to make some changes. To me, willingness is sort of a precursor for discipline, maybe, in a way to look at it that way. So if somebody's really saying something that Dennis might have some strong opinions about discipline.
Yeah, Stephanie, what's up with this?
What's up with what?
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I have this feeling that these comments about, hey, we want to hear what Dennis has to say about discipline, have something to do with the fact that I'm very well known for being a creative.
Hmm.
Well, and I think
I think there's kind of a, I don't know, sarcastic note in there.
I don't think it's sarcastic, Dennis. I think it's more exactly what Phyllis is talking about. It's the perception of the word discipline, right? I think that there are plenty of people who see discipline as very regimented, almost rigid, and so I think that when they see someone who breaks rules, to talk in a term that our friend Phil Boyer uses all the time, or somebody who is maybe not rigid, not only with themselves, but not rigid with other people, they perceive that maybe as a lack of discipline. And one of the things I really appreciate about you, Dennis, and we talk about this all the time, it's why we're a decent match, is because I fall more on the regimented side, and you're the one who's always saying, yeah, but why can't we just try? Why can't we just see what happens? And so as much as people are, asking what you think about discipline, I think that maybe it's a misnomer. Maybe the reason I want to talk about discipline is because I think it means something to people that is not what it really means to me. And I don't think it's what it really means to you. And I think that's exactly what I heard Phyllis say as well.
Yeah.
It's really a word that doesn't mean what people think it means.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. And the interesting thing about that is I consider myself a creative. I consider myself an artistic person. But I also have this sliver of me that likes to accomplish and complete projects and also to feel momentum in my life. And so what was happening 3 years ago is I was being very creative and very artistic, but I wasn't getting anything done and I wasn't finding any progress in my personal or my business life. And so I had to develop a system to become disciplined, but I wouldn't use that word because time management to me doesn't imply some sort of exterior restriction. It implies that I have the power to figure out when I'm doing things. And so that's a really important ingredient in, to me, what that willingness is. I'm willing to set up time to do certain things that will advance my creativeness, and I'm willing to attempt to go through them and to do them and be accountable to myself. But I'm also willing to move them around and to put them on different days and to do them in different times and to learn to outsource them. I'm willing to do all of those things. So that's why I keep bringing up the word willing or willingness instead of discipline.
Well,
One thing.
Oh, go ahead, Liz.
Sorry, I was just going to say, one thing that Phyllis taught me that was really, really important, I felt, is kind of like related to what Phyllis just said, is you become the CEO of your life. And you don't let time control you, you control time. And that's such an important thing when it comes to time. I mean, just when you're running a business, I mean, you're doing especially if you're a solopreneur like me and like most of us, we're doing a lot of things ourselves. And like Phyllis said about the outsource thing, you sometimes you don't realize that you need to do it until you realize that you don't have enough time to do everything. And the only way to see that is by actually having a calendar that visually tells you, actually, you know what, there's not enough time to do everything. You need to outsource some of these stuff. And I'm coming to that realization myself. So it's such a big light bulb moment for me, definitely.
Cool. Very cool.
Well, and is that maybe, I liked what you said, Phyllis, about the notion of discipline being something that's maybe imposed on you. Somebody else is setting your rules. I think maybe, at least for me, when I hear discipline, I get a military kind of metaphor, the drill sergeant, like, do this and do that. But it is always something exterior, right? It's this notion of not being able to choose. Somebody else is imposing it on you. And why I really thought of you when we talked about this show, Phyllis, is because I loved the way that you said you're in control.
Yeah.
And so,
And it's strangely enough, how many solo entrepreneurs, don't realize, even though they're running their own business, that they're really in control. I remember it was a big aha for me to realize that I was a CEO of my own life. And I still, on occasion, go, wait a minute. I'm the CEO of my life. I get to organize this my way. If I want to go work here or there, or do it this way, or work at night, or work in the morning, or rearrange things, I have that option. And that kind of freedom is sometimes kind of like, whoa, when people experience it, they have that aha, like, oh my gosh. And then what do? Then you have to organize yourself so that you can enjoy your life. I have to tell you, being a solo entrepreneur for a long time, it was all about it's fear-based. There was some fear-based in there where it's like, oh my gosh, if I don't do this, the whole world will come crashing down. Oh my gosh, if I don't do this. And you have to find a space, and there's so much you could talk about here about finding a space to say, okay, I'm in control. It's not about fear. What do I want? Now I have a tool to organize it, and coming to peace with time itself. This is where it gets a little weird. But I think that people have bad functional relationship with time, and that they say, I don't have enough time. Time runs out. It's like saying bad things to somebody all the time. I'm not in control of my time, and all sorts of crazy things. And you have to have a better relationship with physical time, and that's why the calendar came in, because when you put everything on your calendar you have to do, and when you put your to-do list on your calendar and you're still putting stuff on like at midnight to do, then you stop living in a fantasy world about how you are going to do all of this stuff all by yourself. Because some entrepreneurs, they live in this fantasy. Oh, I'll just get it all done. I'll be a superhuman woman and mother, and I will bend time to my will. Well, hello, it doesn't work that way. And so when people start to have a true reality-based relationship with time, then they have to let go of some fantasies, and they have to kind of come back down to earth and do some different types of work. It's a real eye-opener when you have that relationship with time. At least in my experience, it does.
I think when you start to become an entrepreneur, the beginnings, you always have this vision of grandeur. And I think when you do this, when you discipline yourself to do these tasks and manage it with the time that you have, you become realistic of what you can achieve, and then you start seeing results instead of those visions of grandeur, right? Because we all know that a lot of things that we do takes time and it takes patience, and that's, I think, the fear factor, like Phyllis said, it's so real. It gets even scarier because you're alone and you don't have anyone to kind of push you along and say, or pay you at the end of the month. That's all on you. So it's definitely helped. If you can manage your time better, you could definitely be more productive, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and the one thing I really liked about what both of you are saying is that it can change your perspective, right? By actually being honest with yourself, because I do this too, right? Well, okay, yeah, I just moved that forward in my calendar because I didn't get to it today, but I'll just move it to tomorrow. And then you don't ask yourself the question, why didn't it get done today, right? Why did I not honor, for example, the commitment I made at 2 o'clock to go and do that? Well, ultimately it's because I found that something else was more important, or because I picked to do something else. And once you kind of establish that relationship where you're in control, and you have to kind of look at yourself and say, oh, you know what? I didn't do it because I didn't want to do it. That's why I didn't do it.
Yeah.
It is an aha moment, right? You have to say to yourself, okay, you know what? I've pushed this thing off 10 times. I'm just not going to do it. I got to find a better solution. I need to find someone to help me, or outsource it, or whatever. But that, I really love this, and to me, honestly, that is a big part of discipline, right? Is being honest with yourself and realizing, not only do I not have time to do everything, I'm not good at everything, and I should really figure out which are the things I need to find some help for. You know, who can help me handle all these things I don't have time or energy or interest in doing.
Right. There's a really good example about this, a personal example, and I hope I'm not sharing too much of my personal life here, but I'm trying to get into an exercise routine, right? And I think everybody can relate to this. And so traditionally, you know, okay, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to go do this, right? Well, I put that in my calendar, and like you said, it kept moving over and moving over. And in my system, when you start moving things over, it's very clear your calendar starts talking back to you like, there's something else going on here, and you're going to have to address it. Well, a lot of times, it's the pre-foundational things that can turn that around. For example, one of the things that stop me from exercising is I have to find my exercise clothes, I have to get the thing up. There are like tasks that have to do with it. So if you look at the actual task of exercising, there are like pre-things for me. So if I set those pre-things up at night, in the morning when it's time to exercise, it's all I have to do is open my Chromebook and the thing starts to play. Right? So it's like setting up situations that allow for a freer flow of the task. So there are some things that even though you keep pushing them off and you might think you need to not do them, sometimes if you look at the reasons why you're not doing them and set those as a task, it makes the original task easier. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
right.
And what I love about it is, and again, this is where it kind of comes back to the notion of discipline to me, is what you have to do is you have to do some analysis, right? You have to say to yourself, okay, what is it that's keeping me from doing this?
Right.
And then can I break that into pieces and handle those individual pieces more efficiently so that when it's time to do the big part, I'm all ready. I don't have any excuses.
Yes.
So I love that.
Yeah. And some people, they'll put things in their calendar, a big block, and it says, write blog post. and then they get to that and they go, But if you, in the description area, put topics and URLs and you use it as a bucket to have, links to certain things, then when you open that up, there are things that have already been set up for you to make it easier to flow into it. So so you don't run up against discipline at that point. You're pre-disciplined, okay, and then it makes it easier to complete the project. But again, it's that willingness, and the willingness sometimes is where you have to start, and you have to find out why you're not willing to do something. Yeah, it's a very good point.
Yeah, just to pick up where.
I'm sorry. I had to do that. That was a great point. I'm like sitting here going, yeah. Take notes in advance. Tell yourself what you're gonna do. So yeah, you get one. Okay, Liz, go on. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I was just shocked. Yeah, I just wanted to also go ta-da. No, actually. What Phyllis said was just right, so right about the detail. I think when you put detail to things, like when you said the blog post, you kind of have links or resources that you want to use, or even images that you want to use that inspires you to write about that blog post. When you put detail into something, it makes it a lot more real. Because you're not kind of starting from scratch. You know that feeling when you sit there and you're starting from scratch, and then your mind wanders, and then a Facebook notification comes up, and then you go and check it out. And it's like you get distracted when you don't have details because your mind is not at that focus zone. Mm-hmm. So I think that the details help you to focus into what you're going to do. So even if you said, I'm going to work out tomorrow, I'm going to wear, my blue top and my pink leotards or whatnot, it just gives you an image in your mind. This is happening. This is how it's going to look like. This is what's going to push you to, just go for it and do it and not get distracted. Because there's so much distraction out there, especially us working in social media. We tell ourselves, it's okay, it's our job. But
And then it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're still on Pinterest and you're like, whoa, what just happened? And
Exactly.
Yeah, but those shoes are good looking.
Dennis loves shoes and hats and accessories. So he's as
I
bad
do.
as we
I
are.
love. I think my most active pin board is probably my two-tone men's leather shoe.
see, I knew I had a problem. I knew I had a problem with this way back when Twitter first really kind of broke out, and I was compelled to read like every tweet. And when I wasn't on Twitter, I felt like I was missing everything. And I realized I had a problem way back then. And so that's why, for some people, you have to actually schedule time to just drop in and enjoy a social site, especially for those of us who work and we're marketing and we're working with clients and we have to be on Facebook. We have to be on Facebook and we have to be on Twitter and we have to be on Pinterest. It's really important not to it's to be there for a reason and then to come out. But if you know in the back of your head that, yeah, at 6 o'clock tonight I have this block of time where I can just go enjoy Pinterest, then I get my work done during the day, what has to happen, and then I know I can go play. And a lot of people feel like they're not going to get that time to play, so when they're working, they try to incorporate it in, and then that's where the problem happens, is because that time just kind of like expands, and then it's, like I said, 2 o'clock in the morning. So.
You know, my wife and I have this conversation all the time. Cheryl, I don't know if the two of you know, but Cheryl's pretty active here on Google+, but she's a nurse. She has absolutely nothing to gain from being on here. She came on to help support what I was doing and kind of fell in love and started getting more and more friends and more activity. And it's amazing to me how often I mean, a few times a week I'll say to her, wow, sure is nice how much fun you have on Google+. Because, I mean, I do love it, don't get me wrong, but more of the time I spend on Google+ is work. Yeah, it's fun, but it's not the same thing as, looking at two-tone leather shoes.
But isn't that maybe what, Phyllis, you're saying to us, is
Yeah.
this notion of it's because they're mixed, right?
Right.
As what happens to me, at least, is I'll get in there and I'll look at a post and I know it has absolutely nothing to do with, what I was on for, but I look at it and I'm like, oh, I would so love to read that. And then that little voice in my head says, you don't have time for that. You're supposed to be working. Leave that alone. And so then it ruins the experience. Whereas if all I was going to do is save it for later, and then I knew I could come and read those 3 posts or 10 posts that I found really cool at 6 o'clock, like Phyllis says, then I could actually enjoy them and not hear that little voice saying, but you haven't done this, but you haven't done that. And that was kind of, when Liz was talking, that was one of the things that hit me is, if you can say you checked it off your list, it sometimes helps you keep going, right? Because then you don't feel like, but I didn't finish. I had this big write blog post task that's not done. You've got 3 little tasks, find the title, find the image, start the first paragraph. Checking those 3 things off can give you that sort of oomph to say, oh, you know what? I finished that before my time ran out, so maybe I'll write the second paragraph. I don't know. Is that...
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. And whenever I write blog post in my calendar, it's not just one thing. I always start from an image. That's my way of getting into a blog post. I generally have an idea, and I'll go and create the image. And then creating that image is a separate calendar event for me. So I go and create the image. Then I have another event on my calendar where I write, and I place that in a time during the day that I feel like I'm most awake, which is usually around 10 o'clock in the morning. And then I never post the blog post on the same day that I write it. I always let it sit, and because generally through the night or something I'll have an idea and I want to include it. So in my calendar, the next day it says review blog post and schedule. And then I will sometimes put in that blog entry, that last one where it says schedule, I'll put in schedule at 9 o'clock next Tuesday. Okay, so next Tuesday at 9 o'clock, I put a little tiny little thing, a little ticker thing that says, did the post go out? And then, so for me, a blog post is several posts that separate the creation of the parts of it and the scheduling of it. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I love when you said you leave some time for it to sit. I can't tell you how many times before this that I would hit publish, and I go back and review so many times that I have to tell people there's a new update.
Yeah.
So and I think that's the one thing about being disciplined with your time is you also need to consider the time that you allow yourself to breathe with what you're doing. It's like just that your mental space, it needs some time to just, you say like good wine, you need to let it breathe. It's sort of like that, like with your content and what you're doing. You don't want to make rash decisions, and everything you do is kind of like decision making. And a decision that's made in, rushed is never a good one. So yeah, that just having that buffer, I think that buffer is very, very important whenever you're doing anything.
Absolutely.
Well, and something that I find funny and which kind of turns the notion of discipline on its head is often I've heard plenty of people, including yourself, Phyllis, who talk about when you schedule, don't fill up your time, right? Like, you cannot go from writing a blog post to 2 minutes later jumping on a conference call to 3 minutes later handling a client's account. You have to leave some space in there, which to me, at the beginning, you plan not to do anything. It seems like an oxymoron, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's really important. There are some famous people, and I have it somewhere who these famous people are for a future blog post. So I'll see if I can find it for you. But in their calendar, they always schedule a half-an-hour breathing space between any event on their calendar because they wanted to have the time to just sort of like let everything kind of run through their head from the previous meeting and to be able to have that time to have it settle into their body. And I think that's a great idea, and definitely you can do that. And the cool thing is inside of Google Calendar, you can set up the default meeting length or the event length on your calendar to make that easier. And then you can change all these things around in the settings to make it really work for you so it's easy to do. And the cool thing about working on a calendar-based life is, again, you can move and expand and do all of that. And the number 2 rule in my system is you can't overlap. There's no overlapping in this system. And my life used to be total overlap. I'd have Twitter up, Facebook up, LinkedIn up, Pinterest up, and I was like zip, 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 and at the end of the day I had no idea what had happened. And so it's really important if you're a work-at-home person and you're doing your marketing and you need to do something on Facebook, then you have a Facebook block on your calendar and you do that, and then you go to the Twitter block, and then you go to the Pinterest block, and try to keep the tabs that you have open on your browser down to 5. And I always challenge people. Yeah, I know. I always challenge people to look right now. Right now, don't close anything up. Count the tabs that are open. Liz. Busted.
Uncountable. I have like 3 windows of full tabs up.
Okay. The thing is, and this is really, really important, every time you leave up a tab, there's a part of your brain that is dedicated to remembering why it's open. So if you have all those tabs up, you have parts of your brain that spread out all over this thing that totally cuts down on what you have available to do at the task at hand. So just remember that every time you open a tab, you go, oh, there goes part of my brain. There goes a part of my brain. And you'll find yourself not opening up so many tabs. And when you complete something, close them up.
Because this is not the first time Phyllis has told me, and I always remember Phyllis's voice behind the back of my brain whenever I have loads of tabs open. So thank you for reminding me again. Sometimes you need to tell me a few times.
Phyllis, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Because of the way that I put together a show. The way that I do my graphics, I don't know PowerPoint, so I use 4 different web-based programs to process through, and I have to keep jumping back and forth between them just to put up a show event.
Mm-hmm.
Have all the information that I need in front of me, yada, yada, yada. Takes somewhere around 15 to 20 tabs at the time that I'm creating that event. Now, I understand some of what you're saying. When I'm done, I usually leave those open and, forget about them, and, maybe I'll come. And yes, I could close down, to a smaller number, but
here's the thing. If you open up, if you have, let's say, 5 tabs that have to do with image creation, and so you go, okay, I have to create this image. So then you open up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have them ready. Then and then you go to create the image. You're only using 1 tab at a time. So it's not like you're actually using all 5 of those programs at the same time. There is a process that you go through. And so what I'm saying is that, first of all, learn to use Photoshop. And then second of all, then when you go through this process, absolutely don't open up other tabs until you need them. And then second of all, close them out when you're done. Because a lot of times, and maybe this is just me, but if I had 20, 30 tabs open, and then at the end of the day, I start closing tabs, and I go to one, and I'll go, oh, crap, I was in the middle of that. Now I got to do that. Oh, shoot, why did I have that open? Oh, that's what I was supposed to do 3 hours ago, and I forgot to do, right? So you have to be tab aware, and you have to be process aware, and think Zen as much as possible for your browser. It does not help you to have up more than you need. It really doesn't.
Can I give a quick tip?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm not naughty, that is, what I use this, if you use Chrome, there's a very useful extension called OneTab. And what OneTab does is, like for me, how I use it, when I'm dealing with all client stuff, I have it all set up like the client's Twitter to be open, Facebook page to be open, and all of these are in one window. And it's just like that one tab, you just focus on your client, and it's all the tabs relating to that client. And then you have another window that's maybe just for you to do images, so you can categorize that one tab session window for what you're doing, and that really helps, I feel.
Right. And so I think maybe what that does, because I feel Dennis's pain, and I am a terrible abuser of multiple tabs at the same time. But my problem is, as you're working and you feel like, oh, I'm getting in the groove and this is so great, and all I want to do is click over and put it here. Like you're typing a post, for example, and all you want to do is click and share. And the time it takes, that 15 seconds, which seems ridiculous, but that 15 seconds is just interminable when all you wanted to do was paste or share or whatever. And I really like your solution, Liz, because what it lets you do is, I am working on a design project, right? And so when I'm working on a design project, this is my window, and here are my 5 tabs. But when I'm done with my design project, I close that down, and I go to work on something else. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, like that's exactly it.
Yeah, it sounds really great. I think I'm going to have to check it out.
Google rocks, Chrome rocks. I'm a real Android fan. I set all my devices to give me alarms right before new events, and it's like a symphony in this house. Everything goes off, and to remind me to stay on task. So yeah, I love the Google and the Chrome.
There is another little app I found on Google Chrome. I just have to share. This is a really neat tool. I don't know if any of you know what CRM is. CRM is like customer relationship management. I mean, we don't really need it as a small business, but it's this nifty little tool on Google Chrome called Streak Gmail. And what it does is you can actually, when you have emails that you need to follow up, it just puts them into little boxes, and it can even tell you when someone's seen your email.
I love this feature. And when I've shown this feature to people, they get really upset because they're like, you can tell when I've opened your email, and I'm like, yeah, and they get so upset, like, wow, that's a little invasive, and I'm like going, no, it's great.
I love it.
Okay, wait a minute. I remember doing this with Goldmine in like 2004.
Back in the day.
Yeah. Why?
Streak does it, and also a new HubSpot system does it. I can't remember the HubSpot one, but I can go and find it. And both of those will let you know when someone's opened your email, which is awesome, because then it's like it's such a stress when you send out an email that is really important and you have no freaking idea if somebody read it or not. But now it just pops up on the bottom, Andrea read the email. I'm like, okay, cool. Now she knows, and now, she can deal with it. It's like the best tool ever. I think it's fabulous. We have a top tools list on Social Media Manager School, and I'm thinking about extending our top tools and putting one of those, a system like this. Streak does it, the HubSpot one does it, and I think it's brilliant.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead, Dennis. I just have a
really
question.
Quick. Can both of you, after the show, put in the links to these apps you've been talking about? And Phyllis, even take it a step further, give us the link to the tool that you just talked about on your own website,
Sure.
because this is some really helpful stuff. Okay, yeah. Stephanie, there. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No worries.
It's called Signals. Signals.
We have to do the sign language thing. We have to communicate better, Dennis. The real question for me is, I love the notifications, right? Like, I really like on my phone, I always have, my reminder in 10 minutes, you're supposed to be doing whatever, 30 minutes, whatever. Mm-hmm. But my concern is that creates kind of this obsessional behavior with both notifications on G+ and with notifications on my phone. And so what are some ways that I can wean myself off of notifications, or that I can make them more more productive? Because it does lead to that, like you said, when you're waiting on an email and you want a response, it leads to I'm just going to hit F5 until I get a response, which is not very productive, right?
Right. It's very interesting. I love notifications because I can't be online all the time. So my phone notifications I've set up, for certain clients and certain posts and certain accounts and things like that, so that no matter where I am, I can see something is happening, and because I like having a mobile office that way. But you do a lot of people don't realize this, and I'm always surprised when I run into it. They say, oh, I keep getting these emails, or I keep getting these notifications. Like somehow they're a victim to the social site. You have complete control over your settings, and I know you know that. But there might be people out there who don't get it, and the classic example is LinkedIn. Oh, I keep getting emails from LinkedIn. Well, go change your settings. Right. It's very simple. And so never feel, just this is a public service announcement for everybody out there, and never feel that you're a victim to a social site. Right?
Well,
you're in control of that.
Right, and what's funny is it comes right back to that, right? It comes back to determining which notifications are important to you, right, and which of them are, I don't want to say distraction, because information is always good, but which of them could you wait until you go back to the site to see?
Right, exactly. Right?
That's, really, a notification is just saying, hey, you need to come look at the site. They rarely tell you everything anyway. And so, if it distracts you more than it helps you, I guess you're right. You should just say, I'll wait till I do my 6 o'clock check-in on Pinterest to see who's pinged me. Or, sorry, I don't know anything about Pinterest.
I have a couple of little ninja tools around that. I'm gonna open the curtain a little bit and tell you a couple of things. There are several blogs that I consider in my world to be like, 5-star blogs. Everything that they post, everything is beautiful and brilliant and perfect. And so quite a while ago, what I did is I set up an RSS feed to auto-post to Twitter. Every post that they did. And that way I use Twitter as a bookmarking site. so that not only am I sending out fabulous content to the people in my world, but I get to go back and go, oh, click here, click here, click here. It's very easy for me to use Twitter as a bookmarking site for incredible information. So I don't need to go and get notifications when certain blogs post or use Google Alerts when certain blogs post because I already have it set up. So that's just a little way that I keep organization in my world running.
And that's where things like Feedly, for example, can be useful. But what happens, and maybe, you know, I'm not saying maybe, I should say yes. I know this is a problem, and it probably is not just a problem for me. Once you get involved in all these different things, and you've got, well, I should check Feedly, and I should check my Google Plus notification, it seems like you're kind of spread out everywhere.
Yeah, you have to definitely, you have to pick your tool and get as much into the tool as possible and not spread yourself out. And also schedule a time to sit down and do that work too, especially if you're in this field. You have to continually educate yourself and, you know, be in the know of what's going on, so you can't ignore those things. But there used to also be a time where, in my life, where everything was connected to everything else. And so that whatever was tweeted was tweeted again, was posted. You know what I mean? It's like the flow chart got completely convoluted. So you have to like step back and say, okay, and stepping back away from the computer is a really important thing to do to gain some clarity around getting organized. You can't really do it while looking at the computer. You really have to step away. And I just enjoy a large piece of paper, and I just say, okay, I need to get this, I need to get this, I need to get this. What's the best way to organize it to make it work for me? And then go to the computer and set it up. I find that stepping away is a really important process for me.
Well, and something else that's interesting, and someone mentioned it, I think, in the comments, is having some sort of physical activity. You talked about exercise. Yeah. Someone else talked about meditation. And again, it seems counterintuitive to plan, you know, for relaxation or to plan for downtime. but I think that's one of the things that maybe as entrepreneurs we have a very hard time with, is planning time for just us or planning time for the family. Because, and again, I'm speaking a lot for myself, but also for clients. You're so pressured, right? You know, how am I going to pay my bills, and how am I going to get that new client, and how's my business going to grow, that you don't leave time for your life. And I don't know, maybe you could give us some tips about that, Phyllis, how we can get, I hate balance. Balance is not really the right word, but how we can make sure we allot the right amount of time to those things as well as our business.
Well, the cool thing about when you finally you're the CEO of your life, and if you have the structure in your life, which I am so blessed, I'm like so happy I have created right now. It hasn't always been this way, so I'm very grateful. But I can move around what I'm doing during the day. So if, you know, like someone was talking about meditating or doing a quiet time or just going for a walk or things like that, if that just sort of happens at 2 o'clock, on my calendar, whatever was scheduled at 2 o'clock, I have the opportunity now to move around. And then I can go out and enjoy that walk, enjoy that meditation, and have that experience in my life. Now, the problem with that is a lot of us are entrepreneurs, and we love to work. And what happens is when we start to organize our life, we start to find these free times on our calendar, like big spaces of nothing to do. And if you've already put everything that needs to be done on your calendar, and then you have a big open space, a lot of us kind of freak out about that. We're like, so I'll write a book. You know, we come up with a new project, right? Which doesn't help. So one of the things in my Time Bliss program is a little bit of coaching around that, because I fall into that category. I have a hard time with free time. And so for me, my biggest learning around being a CEO of my life is being able to enjoy free time without guilt. And the only way I can do that is knowing that everything I need to do has a space on the calendar. And that's the only way that allows me to relax about it. Because if I'm walking around with all that stuff still in my head, like, oh, but I got to create those tweets, and oh, I have to create that image, and yada da da da. If I carry that around with me while I'm doing my walk, that's not a walk. That's, just stress. So that's why once you get it all on the calendar and you find that open time, you need to actually take it as open time and relaxation time. And again, I'm the queen of, learning how to do this. Because this is a very difficult thing for me, and every day is a challenge around free time. Can you imagine? It's like such a silly thing to talk about, but that's kind of how it is right now.
I love to know that it's possible, Phyllis, because I'm not quite there yet, because I just started doing your system like a couple of months, but knowing that once you put it into practice that you can get there, it's really, really just feels good.
Yeah. Well, I got open space on my calendar right now, and I always do a double take. Like, am I sure I have everything on my calendar? Because why would I have open time? So it's a very different experience to be that organized, to have a space to just relax.
Can I just say as well, one of the other benefits of doing this system is it's helped me to say yes or no to certain things, whereas before I was like, yes, 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 yes. Now I know that I have a certain amount of time that I really need to dedicate to my business, and I really need to be really stingy about that, because this is my future, right? So just having that calendar gives me the confidence to say, if I can't do it, I really do mean I can't do it. I'm not just saying to someone no because I don't want to do it. It's because I know in my heart that there's no time to do this, and I feel good about saying no. It's just a weird thing to say, maybe, because I do feel guilty most times, but not anymore.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience, that's for sure. I hate to say no, because it's always an important thing that can expand my world. But when you look at your calendar and there's no space for it, then you have to say no, and you have to be okay with it, or you have to move things around to make room for it. And it's a very, very interesting thing. So what do we have up here? We have something very pretty. What am I looking at here?
Oh, okay. So this is our quote, one of our quotes for the week, and Cheryl brought it to our attention. Thank you, Cheryl. Always great to see you.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's from one of our generous sponsors, Friends Plus Me. So super cool. Excited that they're part of our team. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, by Jim Rohn. Okay, so I got to think about that for a minute. Phyllis, do you have something to say?
Again, I don't like the word discipline. I think if you exchange that word with willingness to be organized or something else, I understand. I just don't like the word. I like the result of the word. I just don't like the word.
Okay.
Like you said, it feels outer in instead of inner out. But a lot of people say, "Oh, discipline is an inner game." Well, if you're structuring your life for flow, it doesn't feel like discipline, even though the result might be the same as having discipline. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that's interesting about it is how words affect us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're all agreeing that the concept is good, but we just don't like the word.
Right. And or the result of the process is good. It's just the word is not that great. And that just might be us. But I think in my world, if I had a coaching client who needed to get something done and they were feeling some internal disconnect from what needed to be done and actually doing it, I would not ever say to them, "Oh, you need more discipline." I don't think that would be a productive way to go about it in a coaching situation. So for me, that word is not a usable word in my world, I don't think.
I just want to kind of add to that and tell a funny story. Actually, I was back in school. I was a prefect, and I was the head of discipline. And I have to say, a lot of people didn't like me. It must have been the label.
There you go. Wow. Well, I used to teach. In a previous life, I was a performer and also a music teacher. And I taught young children. And there is nothing more crazy producing than a choir of 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And I did all sorts of really cool things that created a disciplined environment, but I would never, ever have called it discipline or actually imposed it as discipline. What I did is I created structures that created orderliness in the room. And that's a very different thing than imposing discipline and making someone do something in a certain way. Wow, look at this picture.
Yeah, so this is our second quote, and I love what you have to say, Phyllis. I know we're running out of time, but I really love the notion of the concept being good, but just not using the word, right?
Right.
And I think this may speak a little more to that. Dennis brought us this quote, and it's
no, actually, I didn't. I didn't change that out yet. I'm sorry. In fact, you keep reading the quote. I'll figure out who gave us this quote because it certainly wasn't me.
Well, and I want to say thank you to Interline for sponsoring this week's quote as well. This one is: respect your efforts, respect yourself. Self-respect leads to self-discipline. When you have both firmly under your belt, that's real power. And that's from Clint Eastwood. And see, it's this one, for example, I like a lot more. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think, Phyllis?
I love this one because it has respect and self-respect. I think that's when I'm trying to say be your own CEO and manage your own life as if it was your life instead of feeling imposed by other things and other people and fear. So that when you get that self-respect, you realize I need to take care of myself and I need to take care of my business and I need to have a way to do that. And then that's when you have that discipline to do the things that need to be done because there's a willingness to go in the direction of being happier. And the way that you go in a direction of being happier, at least in my world, is having momentum and completing projects and getting things accomplished. That's very important in my world. And so I love this quote. I think this is a brilliant quote. I love the Clint.
And I will make the changes after the show. And the person who gave us this quote is Cheryl Jansen.
Thank you, Cheryl.
So, yeah, it appears from the comments that Cheryl is a big fan of yours, Phyllis.
Oh, that's great. Awesome. Well, maybe
Okay.
we'll all meet in real life sometime. Omo, Zara. No.
All right, so we are going to go to our closing thoughts now. So here's how we do closing thoughts. Stephanie's going to take a moment and give her closing thoughts and then talk about whatever it is she wants to promote. That better, Stephanie? And then we are going to go as I see you, left to right. So Liz and then Phyllis, and I will take us out at the very end of the show. So Stephanie, give us your last thoughts.
Well, first I want to say a huge thank you both to Phyllis and to Liz for joining us because I really loved this discussion, and I think we agree on some pieces. I still think that discipline has a role in our lives, even though we may not like the word. And I really believe that part of discipline, though, is the respect. And instead of it being something that's imposed on you from the outside, it really starts with you. You have to, as Phyllis said, be respectful of your own time, be respectful of the things that need to happen so that you can grow as a person and your business can grow. But at the same time, you can live a happy life. So I'm really pleased with everything that's been said today, and I would encourage any business owners who are struggling with issues around their financing to catch up with me at finance-ability.com. In a very quick 25 question assessment, you can figure out where the best place to concentrate your energy is when you're looking for funding. But thanks again so much to Phyllis and to Liz, and of course to you, Dennis. It's always fun to hang out.
All right, Liz, closing
right.
thoughts and promotion.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for having me, both Dennis and Stephanie, and Phyllis for asking me to be your sidekick. It's a real honor to be here. And I mean, I've been really inspired by the session today. I think time is so important. It's something that I've really neglected for a long time. And just talking about it again, and it just really brings up how important it is as an entrepreneur to really, get things done, really. And it's good to go through all of Phyllis's lesson again live, actually, which is great. But if you're struggling with social media, which is what I do, I also help entrepreneurs who want to get out there and really want to promote themselves using social media without feeling stressed about not having enough time or not knowing where to start. I mean, that's the sort of thing I do. And, just hop on over to digital-matchbox.com and, yeah, we could get acquainted there if you need any help on that. Thanks, guys.
Phyllis.
All right. Well, I love G Plus Hangouts. I love them, love them, love them. And I really appreciate you having this whole series. I mean, you have this whole series based on words like discipline and things. So I think that's awesome. People should definitely go check that out. So thank you, Stephanie and Dennis. But I want to give a big shout out to Jason Weiser for introducing me to Stephanie, because that was really awesome what he did that way with the three budgeting your time, fitness, and finances series. And so thank you very much to Jason. I really appreciate it. And Liz, as always, you're the best. It's just awesome what you're doing, and thank you for playing along today. And even though it's getting a little bit later there in the UK, I really appreciate it. And there are two things I want to put out in front of people, and that is Social Media Manager School is opening back up in a few weeks. And we have some free G Plus Hangouts coming up. It's how to price your social media management services for nonprofits, local businesses, and celebrities. And you can go and sign up for those at socialmediamanagerschool.com/3 webinars. And then the other one is timebliss.me. I'd love for you guys to kind of go over there and check it out. I have a tremendous amount of information on the sales page, and you go and you can read all about it. And I don't have a time when I'm closing that one up. I'm keeping that one up because it just kind of drives me crazy when people need it. And so I'm leaving that one open for a long time. And so those are the things. So Social Media Manager School /3 webinars or timebliss.me. And thank you very much for allowing me to come in and talk, because I love to talk.
Well, we have.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have absolutely loved having you here. So I just want to close down. Phyllis and Liz, it has been a huge honor to have you guys here. We just love the depth that we're able to achieve in such a short period of time, and I think it's the structure of, you alluded to it, the overall season where we focus on these words each time, and they're all part of an overall plan. I think it has really helped these shows to, just dig a little deeper, and it's a huge pleasure. Thank you so much for being on here, for talking to us about discipline and about a different way of thinking about discipline. been a fabulous show. I just want to put back out there, Infoline, we're kind of in our offices, we're getting moving, but if you have a charitable organization, if you're part of a charitable organization, or if you have one that you love to support, please reach out to me privately. That's what Infoline is all about, is helping charities to achieve their goals, to tell their stories, and to raise money and awareness at the same time. And yeah, we don't really charge exactly. Reach out to me privately. I'll explain all of that. That's too long a story to try and do here. But we're really excited about to just blow the doors off this thing. And so come join us, and let's do a whole lot of good for the world we live in. All right.
Super.
Thanks.
Thank
Stephanie, who do we have next week, and what is our subject? I'm excited about this.
Yeah, well, and it's very funny that Phyllis shouted out to Jason, because actually next week we are privileged to have Jason on the show.
Awesome.
And we're going to be talking about repurposing and how repurposing different elements of your business can actually continue your acceleration and help you grow. So we're thrilled.
All right. I am so stoked. Jason Weiser and repurposing, I mean, hand in hand. So, and I'm really excited to see who he picks as a sidekick, because this is going to be a very powerful week. So, all right, we will see you guys all next week. We'll be jumping into the comments after the show and throughout the weekend. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Thanks.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank